Hi, everybody. Welcome. And thank you all so much for joining us here tonight to celebrate the new book by Yrsa Daley Ward, The How, Notes on the Great Work of Meeting Yourself. She's here in conversation with Jill Louise Busby. My name is Evan Karp. I am the events manager for Booksmith. We are an independent bookstore and mainstay of San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district since 1976. Jill Louise Busby had worked for years in the nonprofit sector with a focus on diversity and inclusion when she uploaded a short but scathing attack on liberal progressivism and the corporate nonprofit machine. The video went viral and made her a sought-after speaker of indulgently honest opinions. She continues to use social media, writing, and film to expose contradictions, challenge performative authenticity, and campaign for accountability. She lives in Olympia, Washington. And Yrsa Daley Ward is a writer and poet of mixed West Indian and West African heritage. Born to a Jamaican mother and a Nigerian father, Yrsa was raised by her devout Seventh-day Adventist grandparents in the small town of Chorley in the north of England. She splits her time between London and New York. Thank you all so much for being here, and congratulations on your new books, Yrsa and Jill. Delighted to have you both here and so excited to stop talking and turn it over to you.
Oh, hello.
Well, hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I can't complain.
You can't complain. Exciting week.
Right. It is. It's really exciting. And also I want to say congratulations on your book, which is brilliant. Which is brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Everyone here. I'm doing the most.
Wow.
I'm doing the most already.
That's
okay.
Not how this goes.
Okay.
This one is yours. This one is yours.
Just have to say it.
Well, I cannot believe that they let me do this without checking anything that I'm about to say. I'm
ready for it.
It could be anything. It could be anything.
Do your most and your worst. That's what I say.
Okay. All right. Well, those are the same thing. So I am going to start by saying that, you know, I have always, we are friends, but I have this nagging issue within our friendship that I am such a massive fan of you. And when I was thinking about showing up here, I was like, I don't even know which version to bring because, you know, even if we're talking as friends and you're talking about the writing, I'm like, yes, of course, the process. But inside, I'm like, please finish the book. You know, I want the book. So I don't know. I'm going to try to do a little bit of both.
Maybe you can flip between selves. Yeah, maybe you can flip. They're all good.
They're all good.
I want the variety.
Okay, there are more than that also. You want the whole team.
Don't be shy.
Okay.
Bring it on.
So I'm going to start by saying that your writing has always had this deep level of intimacy to it, right? So you have this way of making honesty particularly soothing, which I really admire because that's not necessarily my trait. And maybe that's not many people's. And so it also feels like, you know, from Bone to the Terrible and here, like you're always going somewhere yourself, right? And we are getting to sort of witness you going there yourself. And then lately, it's been that we're also getting to do it with you in all of these ways, right? And you've sent us all of these beautiful invitations to ourselves, which sometimes is a little bit annoying because they're these more honest, whole selves that we would have to live with and do something with. It's relentless, really, that you keep doing this, the way that you illuminate things. So I read Bone, and like the rest of everyone, I felt seen and I felt heard, and it felt indulgent and generative and all the things that I would ever want to feel. And then that continued into The Terrible, which I've read many, many times, and I've read my favorite parts even more times. And now here we are at The How, and I'm curious how this book makes sense for us right now, of course, but also for and from you specifically?
Yeah. Well, I said this before with The Terrible, that I didn't intend to write a memoir, because well, I mean, some people do, but I didn't.
I understand.
Same thing with this book. I didn't expect this to come out like it did. But then we had the pandemic and things were very, I mean, anything I say right now is going to be an understatement. So I'll just say it's been a trying time. So often, you know, when I go to write something, I have this idea of what it's going to be, and then it meets the page or whatever. It's something totally different. And even as I was writing it, I didn't think it would be what it is now. And I kept saying to myself, like, why are you writing this? Like, why now? Interesting. But that's what was coming. We were forced to sit with ourselves all day long. Some of us more than others. And, you know, you have these truths reverberating, and you try to make the best of it. So I think really I was writing to myself, and then this is what came of it. Oh, and I had a deadline. So, you know,
it's a good combination.
That's the incentive.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah,
it helps.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so why from you?
You know, I think, why not? Also, I mean, what is in the book, it actually could have been from anyone. And I think, you know, I'm just the vessel that made this. But it's really the content of this book it's what we know. I think it's what we know in our hearts. It's what we've sort of journeyed away from. It's what we read about. It's what we study in lots of ways. And I think it's just there in one place. And again, you know, I'm just one person. It's just how I think started to make sense of what was around me and what I was coming up against time and time again, especially with sort of cyclical behavior that you just keep on repeating and keep on finding. And yeah, why me? I don't know. You know, I'm a poet, I'm a writer. I write what's there in the moment, and that was there in the moment, and I couldn't really put it down. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's why
you know about that.
I don't know, as fans and believers of your work and its purpose, ultimately we get to feel like we know you, as I said, through these books, and whether that's true or not, and also because there's been this ongoing presence on social media over the years, right? Which I definitely know something about. So
you do.
A little bit. So that presence and what it's there to do has seemed to change over time, and of course it has. And it's got more reflective, and it's asking us all of these sort of uncomfortable, necessary questions. And when you have a social media presence, or a you that is a more public you, right? And we have many public uses, depending on where we are and who we're trying to be, or how we're trying to weaponize ourselves sometimes, right? I guess the question is, so how do you evolve the social media one, that public part, as you are growing yourself more intimately?
I just feel like for me, it's as basic as not being on it too much. I think it's hard to evolve when you are staring at something that is not only designed to be completely addictive, but is reflecting you back. You know, a million different reflections, but reflecting this thing back. You know, you talk about something, the next minute it's being sold to you. You know, you go and look at like a handbag, and the next minute there's like 6 of them all on your feed. So it doesn't really force you to think somewhere else. it keeps you interacting with people that are like you, or people that you want to be, or people that you want to be like you, and in a way that just real life, outside life, just does the complete opposite, and you can be thrown into anything. So I think the only way to truly evolve is treat it like what it is. It's a form of communication. It's a vehicle for sharing work, but not the, it can't be for me anyway. Otherwise, I'd be writing books only about one thing for the rest of my life, or a set of things that belong together, and I'm not interested in that. I want my life to be wide. I want it to be open. So yeah, I think let it have its place. But I might not. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this, but you, like, will you answer that question? Because what do you?
No, you're not supposed to do. The answer is no. You are not supposed to do this.
I'm curious though. I'm curious.
I mean, I'm with you. First of all, I can't spend too much time on it because I'm not at the point where I start lying to myself. I pretend that it hasn't gotten me in the way that it has, and then I'm scrolling and I'm like, I don't even care. But even the sentence, I don't even care, is it getting to me? So I can't do the scroll. And to me, the scroll has always been worse for me than the post, right? So, but they feel very separate. So the reason that I really can't do it is that scroll. And then the other part, let me be honest, they're probably both not working very well for me, but I do one more than the other because one I get to do in private. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So do you feel the same way? Like there's the scroll and then there's showing up as, this version of yourself on social media. How do those play?
You know what? For me, the scroll is worse because when I post, I can just drop something there. It's a moment in time. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't, it's just, if it's a poem, it can be a poem that I've messed about with and will change again. It's okay. It's just a flash. The scroll, oh my God. Well, first of all, I mute everything. Sometimes bar about 3 accounts, which are all nature, just like water or something like that. Because otherwise, even then I scroll because then you've got reels. You can look at reels of people that you don't even follow. I just lose too much time. And it's so precious to me. And there's so many loops. When I've been meditating, even when I've had a day, I've been heavy on Instagram, and I close my eyes and there's all these faces and other conversations, and I'm like, that's the scrolling. It's got to be all these like squares of information that I just like look through for a second. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to hold that. There's so many more things that I want to hold. So many more things. And I just don't want that to be part of it. So then scrolling can't be the thing. I want to go specifically to Jill's account if I want to see Jill. I don't want to just see it because I'm just like mindlessly scrolling.
Oh, it's perfect because I'm not there very much either. So you can definitely, I haven't updated anything. You're all up to date.
Well, okay. Well,
so there you go. But the muting, it feels, I will be honest. So if I mute someone, I feel so guilty.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Because it feels like I receive a lot of support and love from people that, appreciate what I do there, or see what I do on social media, whatever that is. And I feel like I'm not reciprocating some kind of energy, right? So I'll mute because I'm like, I don't think that it doesn't even have to be that I don't want to see it. It's that I already have seen it enough. Like I don't want to see it more.
Same.
So, but I have to, it takes me a few minutes and I can get into my like, Jill, why do we feel this way space? And I can work it out. But for a second, admittedly, there's so much social stuff at play that we don't talk about, and the idea of who's liked what and who's commented, and oh, this person has done this. So I also find it to just be a web of other sort of new social things to consider.
There was a lot to it, and if you're not there, you're not there. So that's
Right.
the beauty of missing out on the scroll, and absolutely, but it's not that I don't want to engage with others, it's that I want to choose when I engage
Right.
with them. I don't just want it to be, oh my God, what's this person doing? Oh my God, look at their house. I don't want to do that to myself, you know.
Right.
So that's it. Maybe I'm not involved enough to deal with social media.
Do you think that's what it is?
I mean, who is?
I mean, I think it's also about the boundaries, right? Because I'm very insistent that I follow the natural times that I would respond to someone, even, you know, because we say social media, but I guess that we could open up our whole phones now, right? Because you got it coming from everywhere. So it's also like, this is when I would respond to you. All these other things are very inorganic, you know, but it's not normal. You can reach me this much. So I want to talk to you, but I have to have boundaries around that. And it has to feel like when I can really connect to someone in a genuine and authentic way. And I want to be there. And I'm also like able to take my time, you know, especially as we get busier. That's how I want to be connecting with people. So I think if you would choose to let me show up when I want to, you would also like me a little bit more, because those quick texts are not really it, you know?
They're not. I need to learn that as well. I'm one that I like to get back to people pretty quickly, but it's not always in my best interests. So, but then if I don't, I never get back to them. So it's too much.
I don't know.
Too much.
I don't really know, actually.
Too much to do.
I'm just talking it out. Okay. So sometimes we read or we write books from inside of identities, right?
Right.
And sometimes we read or we write books from behind identities, maybe. This is not a time when we are necessarily discouraging that. So in this book, no one is addressed directly or by who or what they are, or called out specifically for that in any sort of way. Every reader is sort of receiving the same call from you, and all of us are in this together, even if our details are different. Is this book for everyone? And if so, what does it feel like to write a book for everyone right now?
I think that, okay, there are a couple of elements. I mean, you come to a book, and if you're open and you allow it to get inside of you, it's for you, I think. And this can be, it works on so many levels. Even if you're not, I would say, even if you're not the intended audience for it, but it does something to you. You were supposed to read the book at that time. Something like that. Books, I care about books. I mean, books are so probably the most important thing. Like, that's not human, that's not love, you know. The books to me are like incredibly important, and I think this book is for everyone. It's for everybody who cares to pick it up, and who cares what's on the pages. Yeah, I would say so. Unless if somebody picks it up and it's not for them, then it's not for them. It's a really simplistic answer, but yeah, no one's excluded, because these are very universal themes. Dreams, love, depression, these are really universal themes. And yes, you know, there's just so much nuance, and so many, there are groups of people who experience things in to a different extent, but it's where you meet it on the page, and it finds you there. That was a really long-winded way of just saying yes. Yeah. That's a long, I'm taking a lot of long and winding roads tonight.
That's
I'm
really the
very
point.
relaxed.
Great. Okay. So then while you are, sometimes I can experience this like feeling this for ourselves, right? Like suddenly we consider all this intent and where we are and what we know for ourselves, and we do this work with ourselves. And at the same time, we're also in a culture that's spending a lot of time like telling each other off, right?
Yeah.
Or finding someone to blame. And then we say that it's all about impact suddenly,
Yeah.
How do you find it that, when it's time to do the work on ourselves, it requires this great empathy, this great forgiveness for ourselves. And we're able to understand that. But then when it comes down to these issues that make us upset or that we're reacting to, how is this important? And also like giving it to other people, the same grace that we will give to ourselves in the reading of this book? Well,
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said you've got to find it. First of all, you have to find it in yourself, or you're not going to be able to give it. You're not going to be able to give it to anybody else. And that's all about, that's the whole thing about, save yourself first. Be selfish so you can be full up of self, and you can have enough of yourself so that you're not so quick to do the other things. And you may not be so deeply affected by something someone else will choose to do. And everything's relative, because some things can deeply affect you. But what's the first part of your question?
I don't know. It was like I was listening and then I don't know. It was like, basically it's like, we're talking a lot about intent versus impact.
Yeah.
And I have talked a lot when asking or answering questions about my book, the idea that we are giving all this empathy to ourselves, self-care, self-love, self-this, while somehow at the same time spending a lot of time critiquing everything and everyone that's outside of us and sort of trying to figure out how we're doing this at the same time.
But I do think that if you're adequately giving yourself care, time, attention, and you're honest about what you need, I mean, I can't see a world in which you can't give it to somebody else who needs that empathy, and then there's something about the balance is off.
Right. But that's the hard part, right? Is that if you are able to do it, then it would maybe turn that around on us and say that maybe we're not giving it to ourselves the way that we think we are.
We can't be.
If we're doing what you say.
We can't be. I mean, with this not happening, is it? We see so many examples of just of cruelty, and I don't know if it's possible to really enact absolute cruelty or cruelty in degrees if you're kind to yourself. I don't know. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. I mean, I know we're all capable of it, but I think the introspection that you gain from taking time, spending time with yourself, does prevent a lot of I think it prevents a lot of situations where maybe you're not being the sort of highest version of yourself.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned intuitive and genuine forms of activism, and this is a really long question, but now I'm starting to see like questions pop up. I want to be encouraging people to like ask all of their questions.
Yes, ask questions.
Please do that. So I'm going to shorten this question and say, tell us a little bit about intuitive and genuine forms of activism, because I had a lot of assumptions about what you meant, and I loved all of them, but I would love to hear you say it.
I'm going to be activism that is intuitive to you and genuine to you. Not because you feel pressured into it, not because somebody else is doing that, because you feel it in yourself. And also activism is so many things, right? There's so many things. I mean, honesty, really looking at yourself. And again, it goes back to the previous question when we were talking about, you know, we're so quick to criticize, call out, and be so, well, I'm looking for the word, sort of, we don't give a lot of grace. We don't give a lot of grace. And as I said before, if you have it for yourself, then you'll be able to pass that on a little bit. Yeah. And so I think activism does start with that deep introspection and sort of being able to feel in yourself what matters. What matters to you, what is going on that you think you can do something or influence a change. So it has to be something that sparks, and that's why I said genuine. It has to be something that lights a fire into, because you need so much energy to do these things. And so when I was talking about that, I was kind of, not being the first to always jump in on the topic that is hot. Educate yourself slowly, give yourself time. We don't have to know everything. There's so much for us to know. Give yourself time to study and learn, and, you know, study your materials and, you know, make good with them first.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the collective outrage, you know, and that's, you know, there's a lot of peer pressure there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it feels sometimes like really what we're desperate for is this trust that we believe that rage is, you know, because if it's like an emotion that we understand a little bit more, and it makes us believe that a person is truly affected by what they're seeing, you know, and they're going to respond and they're going to do something. It feels like we trust that rage more than we trust something like joy.
And it's seductive. It's seductive. It's very, very sticky, and it's very, very catching. And I can understand why people want to sometimes rage against something. It's a response to so many other things that may not be going well. And then some things, you know, viably so. There are so many things to be angry about, right? So many things. But it's also a place to go that I think acts sometimes as a mask. You know, it's sometimes it's an armor we put on to shield ourselves from what's really going on. So we look this way instead of back. Someone else's accountability is also so much easier than our own. Like I can manage somebody else's, my own, like. And we feel vindicated sometimes in seeing this happen, or we have that thing. We feel we're just glad it's not us. You know, we're glad it's not us, and then I think there's a kind of sickness to that. Right. You know? None of us are exempt. You know. No. We're not. So in even the greatest love is work, you have the audacity to suggest that self-love is not bath salts, a trip away, chocolate or a wellness product, veganism. How can we be sure of what is nourishing us at this point, where so much has been so co-opted, as you say? I mean, how can we be sure of what's nourishing us? This is why you have to clear the pathways, I think. And this is why sometimes, I mean, I know I love social media. I mean, you wouldn't think it from what I've just been saying about it, but it's been such an incredible place, and I've been able to share my poetry and writings for a really long time. And it's where I have my community, who I love. But you need time out of all of that You need stillness, you need quiet. Meditation's an awesome practice if you're not doing it already. You need to walk. You need that stillness of your soul so you can hear yourself. And when you hear yourself, when you can hear yourself and you can strengthen that skill, which is, you know, listening, feeling your intuition, and giving it, you know, giving it permission to lead you. Then you know what's nourishing. How are you going to know what's nourishing when you're completely distracted all the time? It's such a deep, incredible feeling, and you know when something nourishes you. And also we know what takes away as well, but the stillness, the stillness amplifies that knowing. So I think you know by taking the time to get to know yourself and talking to yourself, listening to yourself, making notes, whatever it is that comes to you.
Okay. I'm gonna go to this chat box right quick. I'm gonna start mixing these in because I don't want to miss anything. You said that you don't want to hold the social media scroll. Dale Kern says this. What do you anticipate holding in the near future?
I can answer that very
Dale.
literally, or I can answer that poetically. Should I be like esoteric about it? I don't want to hold the social media scroll. Yeah, I can't be on there all day, you know, and I don't want to a whole lot of unsolicited information. It was cool in the beginning, and now it's not. So I don't want to do that. What do I anticipate holding in the near future? More books, more peace, time with myself. God, I can never get enough. Even when I've got too much, I can never get enough. So there's that. Space, peace, tranquility, and lots of information. I hope that's the way. I don't know if Dale Kern meant that kind of thing. I don't know, but I hope that I've answered the question.
I think so. I think Dale and I would love that. Okay. All right. Let me just say, if any of these names are said incorrectly, I tried with the greatest parts of my spirit, I promise you. And I imagine it is a beautiful name, said the way it is meant to be said. I promise. Avion Ruth. Okay. What have you been able to find? So Avion loves seeing the udder pop up in the inbox. What have you been able to find in the rawness that you bring to that platform?
I think it's just so beautiful to have this newsletter. The newsletter is called The Utter. It's a twice weekly newsletter, every Tuesday and every Friday. So I'll be doing one tomorrow morning when I wake up. But it's such a gorgeous way of sort of challenging myself to not that I ever go for perfection anyway, really. I mean, you've read my work. It's like, it's raw. It's as it comes out. But this has even more just challenged me to bear what's there. And it's unedited. The Utter, I mean, there's many a typo in it. It's unedited, and it's just a free write. And yeah, I write it twice a week, and just that muscle of feeling something and being able to share it with just like my incredible readers. And it's really liberating, I think. What have I been able to find? More peace. I keep talking about peace, but must need it. Just confidence, and I don't have that need for everything to be perfect. It is what it is, you know. Some of it's, you know, the grammar, the typos, as I said before, but it's not about that. It's about sort of the distillation of a feeling in that moment, and the honesty, and also the connection. You know, it was, as I said, Instagram, great, and now it's a mailing list, and yeah, that people leave comments, and I can go back and forth and talk to them, and it's lovely. It's like a little community. So if you haven't read The Utter yet, check it out. link in bio, blah, blah, blah. But I love it. I love doing the I love doing the utter. Yeah. Even when I think I've got nothing to say and I'm like, God, what am I going to say today? Oh, I'll be like, what have I got to say today? But it's wonderful because you're always feeling something.
It feels like a really good way not to lose as much to, even though you are not trying at perfection, but you know, we're trying at something sometimes.
Definitely.
And it feels like a way not to lose as much to that process.
Yeah, the filter just goes because you're being on, you're just talking about where this day finds you. So yeah, I really love the utter, and I really love the community that's come from there.
Okay. Christina Hardison asks, what do you think are the greatest blockers in preventing us from meeting or connecting with ourselves?
God, I think where do we begin? There's so many distractions, substances. I guess some dogmas. As we were talking before about collective outrage, that kind of thing. Because it's easy to just put on the same uniform as everyone else and go in the same direction. Of course it's easy. We want connection, so we do these things. But I think whatever I think is designed to sort of make you want to fit in, and there are so many of those, I think they're the blockers. When I think about the things in my life that have blocked me the most, it's always been when I've been acting outside of myself for a result, this mythical result that I want, you know, and it's always to do with connection or love or an idea of love or validation. So I think that maybe. What do you think about that?
What do I think? Acceptance, it's huge, you know. So I think when I anticipated losing people, I didn't focus on the idea that I would have the opportunity to find greater connection with people who were actually seeing me as myself, or that I wasn't afraid of, you know, or that I wouldn't find out, or you wouldn't find out something additional about me, and it would make me a whole nother person to you, right? So all of this true connection that was based less on fear, I didn't focus on that part. Instead, I focused on how I was going to lose all of these people who didn't really know me anyway. Because I think there's something very attractive about the fitting in, but also I keep thinking that I'm not. And so it's also stepping back and saying like, oh, you got out of one thing and now you're in another, and now you're in another, and now you're in another. So usually it takes me a little while to figure out when I'm trying to be not myself, because I'm the new not myself, right? I'm the new and improved not myself. And so it just takes me some time. I bet right now I'm sitting in some version of a not myself that feels closer to where I'm trying to go, but it's still like the new who's seeing me say this or not say this thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I can empathize with that, aren't we all? In some way. And some things have become so rote, like it's become so normal to step into a you that you think is palatable for whatever reason, even in very, very, very small ways. We do it.
But sometimes we notice that we're doing it, right? And so you write to yourself and then thus to a future us, or now us, of a time when you felt absence at your core, is how you describe it. And your inner being delivered a message to you in the form of a green fence and a very simple action. And you write, simplify, rest, one thing at a time, slow it down. Paint the fence, be intentional, and you will begin to be happy with what you have. Try to do everything and you will be happy with nothing. Sometimes it's the fence that does it, you know? Sometimes it's the feds. But we can be so skeptical of simple fixes. And throughout this book, you keep reminding us, which I love, like, this is actually easier than you think it is, or it's easier than it reads. Why do you think that is?
Because when something's easy, when something's that straightforward, we keep forgetting it. And I guess that's what life is, just a series of forgettings and rememberings. I think that's what it is. And when you have a lot going on, or you make yourself busy, which is what happens, and you start to feel overwhelmed, of course you don't have time to retain those small and effective things that help you hold on to your seat on the planet. So yeah, many a time when you're so out of your body that you could be standing next to yourself, I think those are the things that bring you back, those simple actions. Yeah, those very, very simple actions, almost repetitive. When I'm feeling the most sort of out of sorts and out of sync with myself, I have to get back to some semblance of a routine, which part of me, I tell myself I hate, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. It works. And then it doesn't again, and that's all right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The first question that popped into my head when I found out that this was going to happen, I got very excited, and I read the book and I love the book, and I have this lingering like question that I want to ask you like at lunch, basically, right? But I'm gonna do it here instead.
Okay.
It's
Do it.
I'm not I told myself that it is not a great question, which is not real. I told myself that I could anticipate the answer, which is also not real. But I do have to ask, is this a spiritual book?
But what book isn't? What book isn't, though? And some are easier to come by than others. I mean, in Bone, the spirit was just in me, and it's, bled out onto the page. The Terrible, something came through me and like kind of informed me. Oh, can you hear that? Informed me. Just brought the memories down. As I guess provided some sort of passageway, and said it would be okay, and then that was it. Bone and the Terrible, they're so autobiographical that I didn't really have to reach for anything.
Right.
It was all there. It was all inside me. It was like, kind of, some of it was heavy. It was great to put it out there. This was different. This was something that came as though it could have come to anybody. This is just the way I've translated it. But, this is not... I mean, there's bits of me in there, but it's so universal. It's all of us, I think. So yeah, I think all books are spiritual. I think anything you make is spiritual.
Right. I ask because I tend to agree, obviously, but I think that sometimes it feels like we are scared to call something that, because it makes it something else, or it sells to a different demographic, or it becomes a different kind of book. And it seems like you're able to sort of integrate all of this like spirit work into something that won't get it put over here. And so I asked because we categorize.
That's true. Yes. Yeah, we do categorize. We do. And I have to make it not my business when I'm writing, because I don't really know the true genre of anything I've written, to be honest. I mean, the Terrible was put in like a poetry genre, but it's like when it comes through, it is what it is what it is when it comes through. And I don't know how you classify that, and I don't know really what the how is. But yes, we do like to categorize, much to my dismay. Much to my dismay, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Hold on. Okay. Heidi wants to know, what is this routine that you get back to? And I'm curious too, Heidi.
Oh, the routine. So I'm writing at this, not at length, very succinctly, but I'm going to write about this in tomorrow's update for the utter. But what I'll say is this, that again, life for me is just a series of going away from the thing I know and coming back. And it's life for everyone. But it's really simple things, isn't it? Always, it's like going to bed at the right time. It's drinking. This is kind of late for me. It's drinking water. It's, and lots of it. It's the morning walk. It is those things that help me stay open. Now it's. I always feel really dramatic when I say this, but but I have to just be honest. So I walk up and down my street every day, and so everything's on fire now. So there's all this like red and amber, and I'm obsessed with it every day. I just stand underneath the trees like I've never seen anything like that before, even though I see it every year. But it's that deep appreciation that I have to keep myself going. I need those things. Now, for someone else, it'll be something different.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like the act of like noticing all of these things, because I can very easily just forget. So I have to remind myself.
Speaking of, Jacqueline wants to know, well, first of all, you're one of the voices that I'll read it straight. I turn to when I need guidance and light.
Jacqueline.
Yes. Whose wisdom do you seek? Whose wisdom do you seek when you need a little extra love from the universe?
I feel most love from the universe. I feel as though I take wisdom from everything. So that's every book I'm reading. That's every show I'm watching on Netflix. That is when I can be bothered to watch shows. Pieces of music, the information in the music, and then elemental things. Water and earth, and like natural things like crystals, but it's an ensemble, isn't it? It's an ensemble of information. It's an ensemble effort, and I like that we're all connected and yeah, just so deeply to nature and natural things, though, most of all. And that's what I seek. That's what I seek. But also the voices of others and peers, friends. It means so much to me. All of the things that I've written that I like the most have come off the back of a conversation with somebody that has just opened me up. Yeah.
You talk about, or you read about wanting to pour out of yourself, which I enjoyed a lot, because often I try to describe the feeling of just like when you are, I call it, maybe you would call it something better, that when I'm just so annoyed with myself that I know change is coming, right? I'm just over myself with like, why are we still doing it this way? And usually I'm just starting to just fill up and something new will pour out, and you write about that. What did you pour out of yourself into this book, and how did it feel? It's my last question also, by the way.
Okay. I wouldn't say, okay, so I better make it.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you, yeah.
Got it loud and clear. It wasn't plain sailing, because there was an inner critic that was telling me that I shouldn't be saying what I'm saying, and there were all these convoluted reasons. But you know what, Jill? I've lost the thread of the question. Answer me again. I went too far. I meant to bring it back, but then I lost myself.
No, this is great. I completely understand this. Here we go. What did you pour out of yourself into this book, and how did it feel?
Also, I was saying, yeah, it wasn't the easiest all the time, and then some of it just flowed. I guess my own sort of difficulties, cyclical difficulties, and I guess it's a different you when you're writing a book like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you have changed, but because, I guess, of the categories. And because we're put in categories, especially as artists, we start to categorize ourselves. But we're all so many things. And so I had to fight against the critic to say, yeah, you can actually talk about this because you're experiencing it, and so's your friend, and so's their friend. And so, yeah, what did I pour out? I guess I saw what I guess, yeah, the thing is, it's a continuous flow. Even with theatre, I always catch up with the writing. So I let the writing come first, even if there's a critic or an echo or something. I just like let the writing run, and then I'll worry about it later. I let it be very imperfect, and I worry about it later. And if I'm quick enough, I can hand it in before I have time to not. And so that's what I poured out.
Yes. Yes, I definitely relate to that. Did it feel different because, you know, I had written something down like there was this note I had where I said that you can't read you and get away with very much, right? And it's this idea of sort of like confession without an apology, you know, also, but it's also, it's very you. And I was wondering, like, okay, so this is kind of another question, but how does it feel? Because we're a little more involved now, right? Because you're talking to us. So how did that make it different, or did it feel different also because of that?
Well, it's not so lonely. It's wonderful because as you're writing something, like, you're realizing more and more that, oh my God, we're so similar. And I guess when you're writing from an autobiographical point of view, even though I use so many examples from my own life, but it's you, and you leave it on the page, and it's not you anymore because it's on the page. Right. You've dropped it there. Yeah. But it is very different. And I think I felt like I was not alone. And I hadn't realized that till this very moment, which is why it took me so long to get the sentence out of my mouth. But yeah, it is like walking with somebody. Writing the book was like walking with somebody, and it is like yeah, walking with someone, you know, maybe people who have come before, I don't know, and people that are here now. Because all that we've got is the moment. Yeah. It's now.
Right. Well, speaking of, do you have any last things that you would like to say to us about this wonderful book?
I didn't realize we'd
I know.
done this. Wow. I just want to say that, because usually people ask why I guess why this and why I wrote it. When sort of met with the early pandemic and all of the noise online, it was so loud, and there wasn't only everything was going on. There was so much going on, and there was just this plethora of how-tos, and this is how we do this. This is how you stay alive. This is how you dress your body. This is how you survive. This is how you bake, change your life, And all that can render a person you become just so overwhelmed from that kind of messaging. So the book is really just an invitation back to yourself. to the depth of yourself, and there's so much there. There's so much available. Sometimes I shudder to think about what's available, actually, and all of the things that, you know, had I known they were available to me, I might have behaved differently, acted differently. So yeah, all it is, I just wanted to say the book is an invitation to yourself, and that's all I really intended it to be. Not saying anything new or yeah, groundbreaking, I don't think. But we need those reminders, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I was so excited to have it because these are also the things that I'm thinking about, and especially around the performative elements and all the instruction that we receive, that we can really only give to ourselves by not being instructed. So I think these are things that were coming up, like you said, universally for everybody. And it feels like you doing for a reader what you do for yourself, which is coming back to something. It's a reminder. So it feels like that. And it also feels like it could make it a book that you read so many times. But really what we need you to do is just start with the first time. The how, I have my copy that, yes, Evan, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, great. There it is. There it is.
I just popped back in to thank you both so much. This has been such a treat to be hanging out here with you guys. And Yrsa, congratulations on such a beautiful book. I'm enjoying it so immensely. And yeah, I'm gonna take it with me and be the better for it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Evan.
Of course. And Jill, thank you so much for leading this. It's been such a treat.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. If you don't have the book yet, click through and take care out there. Hope to see you all soon. Good night.
Bye.